Timing is one of the biggest topics in animation. Sometimes it's very difficult to decide how fast or slow something in your animation should move. In this video, I'm going to give you some guidelines on how to approach timing in your animation and take you from guessing the timing to knowing where the keys on your timeline have to go. Timing in animation is everything. If all your motions are too fast, the viewer has no idea what is going on. If your timing is too slow, people will get bored. Timing also plays a huge role in conveying personality and emotion. For example, think about Eeyore and Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. Tigger is an upbeat character and therefore quite literally bouncing around with a much faster timing. In contrast, Eeyore is sad and depressed, and therefore his motions are a lot slower. However, constructing the timing from a personality and the performance of a fictional character is extremely complex and difficult. And it's even more difficult to teach, like where do I even begin? If you ask a lot of animators of how they find their timing, they will tell you, I try to feel out the timing and then I just put the keys on the timeline until it feels right. And that sort of advice is not really helpful for a beginner. So in this video, I'm gonna focus on something that gives you exact numbers for the durations of motions that you can then put on your timeline. It's not going to give you the most unique and creative animations ever, but it's going to give you motions that are pleasant to look at and readable, which is also a very important thing to focus on. Currently, I think there are three main aspects that should guide your timing: character, readability, and structure. We talked about character and personality briefly in the beginning, and for the rest of this video, we will actually put it aside, because in this 2D animation class that this video is a part of, we'll be talking about acting and psychology and body language, and that will bring this aspect of personality into our timing. But for now, let's focus on the two other things. Readability seems obvious. You want your viewer to be able to understand everything that is going on. But for beginners, this is sometimes one of the biggest challenges for two reasons. First of all, your vision. You know exactly what you're going for. You might be able to still recognize your vision, even if your animation wobbles around aimlessly in a blurry mess way too fast. You still know what your intentions were, but professional animators are also not immune to this, because watching your animation repeatedly distorts your perception of timing. You have stared at your animation for days and weeks, you know all the poses, but an untrained eye watching your animation for the first time might miss a lot of that. Also, different target groups have different perception times. You might animate an animation for TikTok a lot faster than you would an explainer video for senior citizens. So here's my advice for improving timing, especially when you are a beginner. Hold things still. I have seen so many student films where just everything is going so fast and there's just one action after the other and you can't follow it at all. Animation is not just motion. Animation is also stillness. I think there's also a big problem that, especially in 3D animation, people are told to never hold the character completely still. And yes, if you want to learn how to animate on a super professional level, you need to figure out how to keep your character alive during holds with breathing and subtle weight shifts and weight settles. But as a beginner, please don't worry about that. A lot of animation styles are actually very forgiving when it comes to holding a character completely still. Most snappy pose-to-pose animation styles you see on YouTube, for example, they don't really need breathing or anything like that. There's no shame in doing a motion or a gesture, then holding that pose for 1 to 5 seconds and then do the next one. Give your audience a moment to read your beautiful poses and process the actions that are going on screen. The next ingredient for good timing is structure. I'm going to show you how constructing the structure of your motion can give you the exact timing. But before we do that, do you want to be part of an exclusive club sharing animation secrets? Well, we are no secret society, but a friendly place to get feedback on your stories, art, and animation. It's the Animator Island Group Mentoring. If you become a supporter on Patreon in the group mentoring tier, you can join a monthly group mentoring session where you can bring whatever you're currently working on, and I will give you feedback to improve not only your current project, but your animation and art skills in general. If you're interested in getting personal guidance on how to improve your work and your creative skills, please head on over to animatorisland.com/group mentoring. Good structure is vital, especially for the timing of faster motions. Here's the crazy thing. If you think about the minimum amount of frames to communicate certain things about your animation, that will give you a structure which gives you a timing. So let's say you have a motion from point A to point B. You need a breakdown to describe the arc of the motion. And if you want the motion to feel like it's accelerating in the beginning and decelerating in the end, you at least need one ease frame on each side. If you're animating on twos, which means that you show each drawing for 2 frames, you have your key on frame 1 of that motion, your ease out of that key on frame 3, your breakdown on frame 5, the ease into the next key on frame 7, and the next key on frame 9. So there's your timing. Your first key is on frame 1, and the next key is on frame 9. Many production studios try to avoid this kind of eyeballed 1/3 distance for their ease frames. They prefer a halving method. You would take your keys, key A and key B, you would put the breakdown in the middle by halving it, and then you would halve each side again. This will only give you a linear motion. Now, every spacing is the same. We cannot see an ease on either side. To get that, we need to halve that at least one more time. And oftentimes you might halve it once again to get a real nice and slow start and nice and slow end to your motion. See how we created a structure that tells us exactly where our keys have to go. If the first key is on frame 1, the next key, in this case, has to be on frame 17. By the way, if you hear animators talking about the duration of an animation, they're often excluding the ending keyframe. Just like when you're animating on twos, you're holding a drawing for 2 frames, meaning that your first key is on frame 1, then you hold it 1, 2 frames, and your next key is on frame 3. So if you hold a drawing for 8 frames, the next key is on frame 9. So a motion like the one we just had with the key on frame 1 and the next one being on frame 17 is 16 frames long. This kind of thinking is especially important for looped cycles like walk cycles or dances, where the ending keyframe is identical to the first keyframe. All the spacing patterns we have looked at so far have an ease on both sides, the beginning and the end of the motion. But there are some motions which don't start with an acceleration or don't end with a deceleration. For example, if somebody stomps on the floor with their feet or a fist slams onto a table, those don't slow down before they hit, and such a structure looks a little bit different. In this case, you would only apply the halving method to the first half of that motion, and that, for example, gives you a nice bouncing ball that really snaps to the ground in the last half. And once again, because of the spacing structure, we know the timing. In this case, the ball is up in the air at frame 1 and down at the ground at frame 11. Of course, there are many possible spacing structures. Easings could be longer or shorter. They could be even on both sides. One side could be easing longer than the other. Maybe a motion starts already accelerated with no easing. Maybe there's a linear motion in the middle where the element is moving with constant speed. All these decisions that we can make about our spacing patterns directly impact the timing. Let's do a little practical example. I have an animation planned out here where I go from this key on the left to this key where the ball is on the right. Now, I don't just want to go from left to right because that would be a little bit boring. So at least I want to add an anticipation where the ball goes into the opposite direction first before going to the right. On the way to the anticipation, we have a breakdown that marks the middle position. If this motion would go in an arc, this is where we would really see that arc. And coming out of the anticipation, we have another breakdown in the middle of the way over to the right. So I have my animation planned out like this, where all of the drawings are just one after the other on the timeline. I didn't do any timing yet. To time this, we're going to use some of the spacing patterns that we have learned. The motion of the anticipation should be very simple and quick. So in an extra layer, I plan my timing chart for this motion. The timing chart that I want to use looks like this. We know that the breakdown is frame 5 and that the anticipation position is reached at frame 9. So I can time it like this on my timeline. I open up the exposure and make sure that my breakdown is on frame 5 and that the drawing of the anticipation extreme is on frame 9. This motion is a lot longer, so we need a lot more frames to not have it be too fast. I go on the layer of the timing charts and I'm going to plan a timing chart using the halving method. This motion starts at frame 9. Now we can clearly read the timing. We know that this motion goes up to frame 28. The next key being on frame 29. So I can take the exposure of this time chart drawing to mark the end of our motion at frame 28. And the drawings that I have, I can already distribute. We have the beginning of the motion at frame 9. Then the breakdown should be on frame 19. So let's drag it up to frame 19. And this is going to go all the way up to the end of the motion. Now let's add some frames so we can see the hold at the end. And now we can press play and we have timed our motion without having drawn any in-betweens. We made a decision about where those drawings go on the timeline. As you become more experienced, it will be easier to just take your keys and breakdowns, distribute them on the timeline, and then come up with the spacing patterns later. For beginners, I think it's very helpful to think about the spacing patterns first and then try the timing that you get out of these. If you want to have a more hands-on walkthrough of the timing process, I do that in the very next video. We take the animation that we already started with the bouncing monster. We created some lovely key poses and breakdowns and anticipations and overshoots. And we're going to think about the spacing patterns and use that to time our animation. If you don't want to miss this, please subscribe to our channel. This is the very next video that will come out in this series. A tutorial series like this is possible because of these awesome people that support me on Patreon. If you like what I'm doing and you want me to make more videos like this, more regular live streams, please consider supporting me on Patreon as well. There's also the group mentoring that you can join if you want monthly input and feedback and exercises to improve your own art and animation skills. In any case, thank you so very much for watching. Hope to see you again soon in the next video. Until then, keep on animating.